bring, 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 bring.
Hello, this is Mahoraga speaking. Father to all 6 eyes and 10 shadows users. How can I help you?
My name's Ryomen Sukuna. I know I'm new to the hotline. This isn't technically my technique, but I'm gonna need your help. Come pack this guy up.
Oh, yes, sir. How quickly will you need that?
Perfectly right now. Oh, Lord, he's an infinite void. All right, let me get up out of here. Thank you to our $5 patrons, Rebel 4765, Midnight Gem Lord, Sean, Alex, Ice Rose, and Demix LND. And another thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays, and Rebel 4765. And another very big thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Ido Okami, and Joaquin. And another very big thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. Before we have this breakdown / live reaction to chapter 2, well, I guess it isn't a live reaction, it's just a review, because this is Pencil Live. So before we hop into this breakdown / review of chapter 229 of Jujutsu Kaisen, please remember to leave your own on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, let's hop into last week's poll. So, last week I ended up asking you guys, well, did you think Gojo was done? Like, obviously, that wheel started spinning, that nose started dripping, and everything was not looking too hot for the strongest sorcerer. So, I obviously had to know, like, what y'all think. Do you think he was done? Do you think he was cooked? Do you think the boy was about to get put in a pack, be rolled up, and then be lighting up the entire skyline of Japan? Or do you think that Gojo was about to cook? Do you think he was about to survive? Do you think he was about to get with it? Do you thought he was about to do it to it? And with an overwhelming, with a juicy 73% of the vote, y'all believe that Gojo was about to hop in the kitchen and get that wrist a whipping, aka y'all have faith in Gojo. And honestly, considering the amount of Sukuna fans in my comment section and in my general subscriber base, I am shocked. I am shocked. Well, not that shocked. Mainly because we didn't know if Mahoraga was going to immediately come out. That was the big thing about last chapter. It was super vague. The end of last chapter was super duper vague. So I'm assuming a lot of that faith in Gojo was like, one, he's the strongest. So obviously you gotta have some faith. And two, we didn't exactly know what any of that meant. Like, last chapter ended off super duper weird. So I definitely understand the 73% of y'all going with Gojo will cook. Hey, I believe the same thing. But at the same time, I do understand the 27% of y'all who are like, oh no, he's done, son. Especially because what last chapter implied was like, oh, Mahoraga's been in the shadow. Like, just sitting down there, merely rocking on any block for like who knows how long. He's been, like, and by he, I mean Sukuna was hit by purple, by red. If you think the telekinesis is blue, by blue. Like, that was like, he's been surviving, what, 3 infinite void? Like, legitimately, Mahoraga has been spinning to win for a hot minute now. He is essentially, he would have adapted to all of Gojo's kit, because Sukuna has tanked pretty much all of Gojo's kit if you think the telekinesis is blue. So it was looking pretty rough for Gojo. So I do understand the 27% of y'all. However, thank you guys for participating in that poll. Please, English. Thank you guys so much for participating in that poll. Make sure you get your input in on tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. to make sure your input is included for next week's review, or 2 weeks from now to review, because we're on break. So thank you guys, and please make sure you participate in the next poll. But now let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into chapter 229. What's up, guys? Welcome to here. Here we are to break down and review chapter 229 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as the decisive battle in the uninhibited demon-infested Shinjuku. Ironically enough, like, unless there are more demons that we just aren't seeing, this isn't a demon-infested place, realistically. Like, Sukuna technically isn't even a demon. He's like a sorcerer, curse, thingamajig in a human vessel, and Gojo's not a demon. So, like, how is this Shinjuku so demon-infested? Like, maybe if it said, like, curse-infested, because, you know, there's a flat amount of curse energy going on in this place. But, like, other than that, I don't know how it's really demon-infested, unless, like, the cursed spirits are, like, chilling on the roofs, watching the fight. Like, is that our king? Oh, shoot, that's our king. Oh, Lord, is that the strongest sorcerer? Oh, Lord, that's the strongest sorcerer. Should we run? I don't know, the culling game barrier is still up. Forget it, let's just watch. So maybe that's the case, but overall, until maybe the end of this chapter, this Shinjuku did not appear very demon-infested. However, let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. What's up, guys? It's time to hop right into it. I faked you out there. Anyway, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into the review. So, we open up, and we do get to see that Sukuna versus Gojo is continuing as a neck-and-neck battle. The gong rings once again, and we get the big cliffhanger from last time. Gojo, he's dripping a little bit. And unfortunately, it's not because he has a new fit, no new sweat. No, he's literally just has like a nosebleed. Like, straight up, he is just dripping. And Yuta, forget the blessed one, the sweaty one, bro. Like, come on. Like, here's the thing, right? I will give Yuta this. Put me in Yuta's shoes. Make me as strong, as fast, as durable, as versatile, as crazy as Yuta is. And put me in his scenario. Specifically his scenario now where he said he would tag in if Gojo needed some help. This looks like a, oh no, I may need to tag in. And based off what I've seen these two Jujutsu deities get up to in this fight, yeah, I'd be just a teeny tiny bit hesitant to hop in there too. So I understand why Yuta's sweating, right? But at the same time, it doesn't make it any less funny. Like the fact that, like, I may go back because I may or may not be, this is just up in the air. I may or may not be working on a Yuta fraud video. It's not real. I don't think Yuta's actually a fraud. Like, easily a top 10, arguably a top 5 character. So, like, don't actually think it, but, for the memes. And, like, I think in every single chapter since this fight has started, he's had a sweat drop. There's not a single panel I can find with this man in the last 5 chapters that doesn't have him, like, Gojo just started dripping at the end of last chapter. Well, admittedly, he was also dripping a whole lot when getting hit by Malevolent Shrine. But he started dripping last chapter. Yu's been dripping since the battle started. Once again, I can't blame him. I cannot blame him. The stress of this battle, despite, like, I know it sounds crazy, but despite the two people who are engaging in this battle kind of just cheesing and memeing, like literally just having a good old time, like the stakes of this battle are through the roof. Whoever wins, whether it be Gojo or Sukuna, it's not looking good for either side. Because let's say Gojo wins, right? Let's say Gojo wins. Best case scenario, Kenny performs the merger anyway, and now Gojo, while likely extremely fatigued, he's already getting a nosebleed now, so it's very likely that despite the wipe off he does, he's likely his brain's starting to work a little bit too hard. That Gojo is going to have to deal with the cursed conglomerate, which who knows, if Sukuna loses here, his abilities and his cursed energy and the residual nature may get absorbed into the cursed conglomerate too, because he is a Culling Games player. We don't know how the merger 100% works, but we know the merger is going to produce something monstrous, maybe even more monstrous than Sukuna itself, and now a super mentally taxed Gojo is going to have to deal with that. And that's on the bright side. This doesn't happen to help the fact that who knows what Kenny's doing rolling around right now, what he's prepping up right now. So bro's gonna be dangerous. And if Sukuna wins, then we, and I say we, like I'm in the narrative, luckily enough I'm not, but Yuta and gang, they're gonna have to fight Sukuna. And then possibly Kenny. And then possibly Urume. And then possibly the thousands of cursed spirits that Kenny has uphold on top of the cursed conglomerate that Kenny's cooking up right now. Like, dog, what? What? Like, it is a rough scenario no matter what. I'm going to make a video going more in depth on what I think could happen if either side wins, because I think that is an interesting topic. And we got 2 weeks break, so I got a whole bunch of JJK videos just like on the roster right now, especially based off this chapter. This chapter's kind of spicy, but let's see. So the two immediately go to domain expansion. This is something weird. It's kind of weird that Gojo opens domain like this. Like, notably, it's like, instead of going like this to open domain, he just casts his right arm downward. Like, I guess it was never confirmed there had to be a special prerequisite way to open domain. Like, especially with characters like Mahito and Dagon, like, they open domain pretty much however they want. Like, Dagon opened it up on his stomach and Mahito, and then boom, he opened domain. But, I don't know, it feels weird seeing Gojo do it. Because, like, we've seen him open domain pretty much, like, unless I'm mistaken, I'd have to check the previous chapters. He's always open domain like this. Like, it's always been like directly in front of the face. Or like at best, it would be at like different places. Like in the Jogo fight, he opened it up here. Like I think recently he opened it like slightly forward. But like usually it's been up here. He's never like casted. He's never casted Unlimited Void downwards. I don't know. That just feels slightly off, but not in like a bad way. It's not like it's anything bad or anything. In fact, I really like this shot. It's like a really dynamic shot of Gojo where you like his fingers are in the foreground and he's wiping the nosebleed away in the back, like kind of in the background. Like there's a really nice shot. That's a really good drawing by Gege. I don't know. It just caught me off guard because it's just because it's the first time we've ever seen something like that. But though, of course, Sukuna can't, like, he needs two hands to do his domain. So he needs to consistently go like this. So that makes sense. And they both open domain. Now, this is where I wonder, like, here's the thing. Personally, even with knowing who I am, being Satoru Gojo, I would not keep engaging in domain battles. Not because I couldn't. Like, it's obvious with Gojo's, like, massive disregard. And I guess I should address the nosebleed, like, more directly. So, what do I think it means? One of two things. Either nothing. Gege just wanted to hit us with a cliffhanger on top of the Mahoraga thing. It could just be nothing. Could be. Or number two, what I'm still leaning to, I think his brain is starting to cook itself. And, like, here's the thing. I know, because a lot of people were getting on me when I said this last week. But he has RCT on his brain all the time. How can his brain get tired? Like, if I were to jack you up with, like, unlimited energy, you think your body wouldn't have wear and tear? Like, here's an easier example. My computer, it's screaming right now. Not screaming as loud as it could be, but it's screaming right now. It's at full battery. And it stays plugged in all the time. But guess what? If I try to use that thing, like, unlimitedly at full power, despite being plugged into a power source, despite being it perfectly fine, and everything's constantly being juiced back up with the electricity that's going through it, it's still going to burn itself out. It can still damage itself despite being consistently healed and consistently fed. So Gojo's brain, while being consistently softened up and massaged with that juicy RCT, it's still going through a lot. Like, notably, especially considering he's consistently doing weird things with domain. Like, it'd be one thing if he was just opening generic domain over and over and over again. But you gotta realize, the last three domains he's used have all been extremely different fundamentally. One was a generic. The second one was an inverted one. And the third one was a gigantic into a miniature one that had to take in a concept that he experienced like a month ago. His brain is like, even despite being Satoru Gojo, even with the six eyes that amp his perception to a completely different degree, it don't matter. That boy's still burning his brain up. So I'm assuming it has to do with that. But I don't think, like, at least based on how casual the nosebleed is, and considering the only mention we get of it is Yuta right here at the start of the chapter with a nosebleed. Like, I don't think it actually means anything. Like, I don't think it's going to, at least for right now, for this battle in particular, I don't think it's going to mean much unless it happens again. If it happens again, then I think, oh, okay, so maybe Gojo's cooked. But we'll see. Right now, I don't think it means much. But with that being the case, once again, they activated domains at the same time. So they are completely good. And this leads to Itadori being like, they activated at the same time. Thank you, Itadori. I can also read. No, I can't. But with that being the case, we see Angel being like, which means Sukuna can restore his burnt out curse technique with a reverse curse technique after all. And then Hana asks the natural question, but has he been able to do that all along? Or did he just figure it out? And that's a good question. Notably, I'm in the camp that Sukuna knew. One, this is the guy who, like next to Kenny, should realistically be the most knowledgeable character in the verse. Like, realistic, like, based on his experience, even if for the 1,000-year period, he was just fingers, he wasn't doing anything, he was just, when did Kenny said he was gonna give birth again? Oh, this is so tiring. Oh no, I'm in another curse. Like, except for maybe little moments like that, if he was sentient, he still was alive for a long time. Like, remember, he lived a regular human life, then became like a pseudo deity. So Sukuna's experience is through the roof, and presumably, considering he had all that time, and he literally has a divine domain, one of two characters in the entire series to have a divine domain and the ability to manipulate it on the fly with hand seals and stuff like that, it makes sense to me, 100%, that he could utilize a technique that Gojo could come up with. And I'm not saying Gojo isn't a prodigy, or that Gojo could pull out something that Sukuna couldn't, but if he just saw it and learned it, Makes sense. It's Sukuna. Come on now. And number two, I still think he kind of already knew. Before even Gojo knew, most likely. Unless, because Gojo didn't do that. I don't think Gojo did that at Shibuya. I don't think. I'm not sure. Because, like, would the prison realm have worked? But then again, 299 seconds passed. That's what? Nearly 300 seconds. That's like 5 minutes. Like, he was rolling around for nearly 5 minutes, yet his curse technique was still seemingly enough down. So I don't know. So I don't think Gojo knew. I think Gojo came up with that on the fly, right here, right now. But with that being the case, I think Sukuna did it back in Shibuya, ironically enough. I don't think Gojo could do it back in Shibuya, but I think Sukuna did. Because he hit Mahoraga with Malevolent Shrine. And then in the fan books, it's confirmed that the Flame Arrow is not the same technique. Like, or at least it's listed separately. Like, Cleave and Dismantle are listed, and then the Flame Arrow. They are not in the same category. So that you may be like, oh, well, that doesn't necessarily matter. And you're right. Except we see another person with multiple techniques post-domain. When Kenjaku opened domain and then closed it, or had his domain forcefully shut down by Tengen, guess what? He couldn't use any techniques. Like, not a singular one of them. And that's going to lead to an issue later on in the chapter that I'm going to talk about. But he couldn't use any of them, like, at all. He couldn't use gravity and he couldn't use cursed spirit manipulation. That's why Yuki and Choso were able to kind of like start mopping him. But the big issue is that it shows that even if you have multiple curse techniques, once you use domain, all your curse techniques burn out. But Sukuna managed to switch to another one right after closing domain. So Sukuna's likely had this ability since forever. Why Kenjaku doesn't have the ability? I have no idea. That's actually kind of interesting. I wonder why he doesn't. If this is something that can be either A, easily learned on the fly, or come up with just like that by a 28-year-old, how come the 1,000-plus-year-old curse doesn't know how to do it? I don't know. But, or maybe it just takes some more time. Once again, he's not on the level of these two in the slightest. I don't even think Kenny is on the level of 15 Finger. So maybe it's just that they are able to do it much faster. And maybe Kenny restored his curse technique quicker because he could. Or no, maybe the time period in between Kenny having his domain close, and Yuki and Choso jumping him, and then him getting his technique back. Maybe it was shorter than the average technique return time. It's just that we couldn't tell because we didn't really know what was going on there. We just thought, oh, his techniques replenished naturally. And with that being the case, it does make you wonder, why is Sukuna special in that case? Why is he able to close domain and then immediately use... Or no, not that. I'll get to the big question about like domain shutting down techniques, even if they're not the technique that was the foundation for the domain, in a little bit, teeny tiny bit. Don't worry, we'll get to it. But with that being the case, I do love the little comment here. I don't know who it's from though, because there's no like guiding line and there's no little mini picture to tell who it's from. Maybe it's from Yuji, but we see someone says, how many times have we said the word curse technique today? And to be fair, that's 2 words, not 1 word. And to be fair, a lot. But hey, how else are you going to describe it? It's not like you can say something else. It is just curse technique. But with that being the case, we see Kusakabe mention within the 3 minutes it takes for Sukuna to destroy Gojo's domain from the outside. Gojo needs to damage Sukuna to the point where he can no longer use his domain from the inside. So this is kind of just the new rule, which is it's kind of interesting that the battles take 3 minutes inside the domain. Like, I don't know, that's like a whole song. Like, what are they doing in there? They just Millie rocking? Like, are they just having a good old time in there? What are they doing? But obviously, I know they're fighting. Don't worry, I'm not that. I'm not the sharpest spoon in the kitchen shed, but I'm not that dull. I know they're fighting. But with that being the case, Kusakabe brings up a good point. Essentially, they're just going to keep reverting back to neutral if Gojo can't figure out a way to do extreme damage to him while they're in the domain battle. Because it seems like Gojo cannot make the ball any smaller. He cannot give himself any extra leeway. Like, maybe you could argue he could, because right now it's just a little bigger than a basketball, right? And like, my hands are big, but they aren't big enough to palm a basketball. I'm not an NBA player. So like, this big. I don't think he can make the domain like maybe this big, because it's just not impossible for him. Because then again, how big is the prison realm? Because Kenjaku could palm the... How tall is Geto? I actually don't know. That's a wonderful... I wonder why. Because I don't think the prison realm is bigger than a basketball. Because, like, when I say Kenny palmed it, I mean, like, he didn't just palm it like, ooh, prison realm, and, like, it was overflowing on his fingers. No, he, like... So if Gojo's really using the prison realm for, like, a reference on how to do something that's, like, physically impossible, aka compressing 2, like, 6-foot... Well, how tall is Megami now? Is Sukuna shorter than Gojo? I actually didn't even focus on that. He may be shorter than Gojo, but at least a 6 foot plus man in Gojo in a smaller space. I wonder. Maybe he's just not pushing it to its limits yet. But 3 minutes is a long enough time for Gojo to work something out, as Shoko believes. Because she says, let's not talk about it as if Gojo's on the ropes. If Sukuna's drawn into unlimited void for even a few seconds, he'll be incapacitated. If he's able to destroy Malevolent Shrine within 3 minutes, Gojo will win. And whoo, I love hearing them words. You know what I'm talking about? You know, say it again. Say it louder for the people in the back. Say it louder for the people in the back. Shoko, please. But yes, Gojo can win. Because, like, it's true. If Malevolent Shrine is shut down within the barrier before that 3-minute period is up, even if it's just for 1 second, yeah, it's infinite information being flooded into your head multiple times over. That's why I can even take out, like, disaster level curses, such as the disaster curses plus Shoso. Like, that is a thing that we know. All it takes is 1 hit. It's why Sukuna hasn't even been playing games with it. Like, notably, he played games with Purple. Why? I don't know. But to be fair, he didn't know Purple was coming. He couldn't, like, measure what threat level it was. So he kind of just had to eat that. So he played a little bit with Purple. He's been playing around with Red and Blue. He been having fun. He been throwing hands with Gojo for a little bit, just having himself a good old time. But for something like Unlimited Void, Sukuna don't play that game. He's been opening his domain right on time, right on counter, so that their sure hit's neutralized. Because Gojo can eat his sure hit, but Sukuna can't eat his. And he's stuck right on top of Gojo to make sure that he's touching, to make sure that doesn't happen. Which still makes me interested. I really wonder if Gojo could remove that problem, if only temporarily, right? Like, if he's able to manipulate the barrier so well to the point where he can literally do something that is scientifically impossible, aka compressing a large amount of mass into a smaller area, if he's able to do that, I wonder why he can't just remove that property. Like, you're telling me that's just built in? Like, that's just something he can't alter. He can alter the size, the mass, the shape of the barrier, and all that. But he can't alter that property. Just delete it, just for a little bit, like just a slight alteration. But who knows? Maybe not. Or maybe he just knows that Sukuna may now that Gojo knows that Sukuna knows he needs to be in contact. Gojo realizes, oh, maybe even if I try to do that, it wouldn't work out. He would just find another way or use domain at the same time. So that may be it. However, this is this is simultaneously one of my favorite panels of Gojo, because I love, once again, the dynamism of the shot with the arm in the foreground, the other arm in the background, the flowing curse energy around his fist. Obviously, we gotta love the Toji fit like this. But, like, why is this man off one? Why is he tweaking? Like, like, bro's looking like that. Bro's looking like, look how big look how wide open his eyes are. Super wide open. His pupils are dilated and his irises are shrunk. That man is in another dimension. He is freaking and geeking right now, bro. What is this? What is this look, bro? I mean, like, I know in real life, I know many people who would love to have Gojo look at them this way. I know friends of mine who have paid Gojo cosplayers for things I cannot mention because I'm not going that far. I know them, and they know who they are. They watch my content. You know who you are. You know exactly who you are. So don't even come down. I'm not gonna mention any names. I'm not, but you know exactly who you are. So while I'm a little bit off-put by the fact that this man is staring through Sukuna, not at him, I know some of y'all wish that was you. I've seen the comment, and even beyond my own friend group, or beyond people I interact with, I've seen y'all comments. But how many of y'all? I know some of y'all have wished to be his shirt. I know you can't hide from me. It's online. It's there forever. It's there forever. I didn't screenshot it, but somebody did. Trust me. I know the truth. But with that being the case, Gojo having a win con is something that, at this point in time, no Mahoraga, Sukuna can't claim to. Like clearly he just can't do it. Like at this point, even with, like, because here's the thing, I will admit this as a Gojo Glazer. Hold on, I have no idea where that hat is. I have no idea where that. There's a certain hat I'm looking for, but I'll find it because I'm gonna make it. I have an intro plan for a video I want to do, so I'm gonna find that hat before I make that video. But like, allow me to slide on the Sukuna slopping hat. He's been kind of in control of the battle for the most part. Like, Gojo's the one who's been on the defensive, consistently changing his property. Like, Sukuna's been responding, but notably up until this chapter, what? Sukuna used one domain, Gojo had used 3, and they all got broken. Then they neutralized off the first, like Gojo's 3rd domain neutralized Sukuna's 1st one. Okay, cool enough, I guess. So like Gojo realistically has been, he has been the challenger so far. So I will admit that. But while being the challenger, he's pretty much had an answer and a clear answer to everything Sukuna's had to offer at him. Cleaving his mantle, infinity. Domain amplification, just relative stats, I guess. Seems like Sukuna just isn't physically strong enough to do anything to Gojo. For domain expansion, either A, his own domain expansion, which he's using now as a counter, or B, just face tank it, I guess. Like, legitimately, all he did was a whole bunch of cleaves. Like, and notably, it is all cleaves. Like, because cleaves... I was about to make a horrible joke. But, what is happening? I'm sorry. But cleaves attack things with cursed energy. Gojo is definitely a being with cursed energy. So he was eating a bunch of quote-unquote Duranegan cleaves for breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, dinner, any other meal of the day, and a snack on the side. He was munching that bad boy up. Meanwhile, it seems like almost everything Gojo does, except for fisticuffs, actually do relatively decent damage to Sukuna. Like, even, and to be fair, we even see fisticuffs do relatively decent damage to him later on in this chapter. So like, that's kind of crazy. But once again, you know, cleaves when they hit do relatively good damage. That's why Gojo has to heal them off. But like, Gojo at this point, if I were to just show someone this panel and ask him how tired he looks, he doesn't look tired at all. But if I were to show them Sukuna, well, okay, maybe not on this panel, but like, you show them Sukuna in certain panels. Like, just look at Sukuna right here. Look at this boy right there. He has a gaping hole in his chest, or at least he has the remains of a gaping hole in his chest. As long as you look at this panel with no other context, you would believe Gojo hasn't taken any damage. That's crazy. However, we do get to see that Gojo immediately starts like Fist of Fury, just starts going crazy on Sukuna. 5 separate hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can count. Here, I got the pencil. Count with me. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry. But with that being the case, we see that Sukuna does block him. He does block him pretty well. And I will admit, Sukuna, no lie, broski, 4 arms would be pretty nice right now. Like, I'm just saying, you better dial up the Omnitrix real quick and turn it into a Tetraman or something. Because, like, dog, can you imagine, like, just even, like, don't, here's the thing, Gaga, I'm begging of you, man. I'm really begging. This is why I hope Mahoraga doesn't win. Like, I hope Mahoraga doesn't beat Gojo. Because I want to see 4-arm Sukuna versus Gojo. I want to see them have a fisticuff exchange. Because it's always cool to see extra limbs in a fight. So, like, Gaga, you don't have to fully shift him back to his original form. Fine. Or even, you don't even have to give me his original form with black hair to keep the black hair look for Megami. Fine. Just give me 4 arms. Like, just give me that. Give me a whole Tetraman. Please. I'm begging you, man. Because, like, that's kind of what I came here for. Like, bring. Can I get the 4-arm form? Up? Nope. Okay. That's kind of what we're at right now. Because, like, once again, putting it into the atmosphere, even though, you know, I got faith in Satoru Gojo, because I got faith in Satoru Gojo. Say Sukuna wins. Are we really expecting Yuta to get to work? Against, do we really think that anyone else in our main cast can force Sukuna to go 4 arms? Do you really think that? Do you really think, like even the greatest Yuta Glazer, the yuckiest Yuta yucker out there, do you really think Yuta's gonna force Sukuna to go 4 arms? Do you think Maki is gonna force Sukuna to go 4 arms? Do you think Hikari is going to force Sukuna to go 4 arms? Do you think Kashimo... I know some Kashimo fans out there really think that Kashima's going to force Sukuna to go 4 arms and push him to a high-diff fight. I smell a Ryuing in your future. I'm just saying. Well, actually, no. Because I'm about to make a Kashimo video. So let me not say too much. But, I don't know. If he got Ryu'd by 20 finger, or 19 finger plus body, don't be too shocked. Don't be too surprised. Like, trust me, as a Kashimo hype beast, I understand y'all desires. But you, unless you are also a Ryu hype beast, do not understand my pain. My pain is far greater than yours. I'm sorry. But with that being the case, back to the battle itself. despite my complaints, my consistent complaints, I feel like I mentioned that almost every single review so far, me wanting Forum Sukuna does block. However, he is, seemingly enough, pushed into the air from the force of the hits. That is one thing. Look, these hits are not doing any damage, or at least any real damage to Sukuna, which is very, very interesting considering what happens later on in this chapter. But we see, it looks like Gojo may have not been going for damage because he immediately whips behind Sukuna. And Sukuna, who goes to squat in midair, seemingly to land or something, gets boom, thrown. And thank you. I forget exactly who commented it, but that's exactly what I was thinking of. Star Killer from Force Unleashed. That's what the telekinesis stuff was reminding me of. The throwing people around. That's exactly what it was. It was Force. It was essentially, it doesn't have to be Star Killer specifically, but any time a character gets ragged off the Force, that's what this feels like with Gojo. I have no idea how Star Wars in the Force didn't click in my head when I literally own multiple lightsabers. But one reason or another it didn't. So like, that it'd be like that when it'd be like that, especially when it'd be like that. My fault. But yeah, that's what Gojo's reminding me of with the Force. Though admittedly, Gojo's using a lot more like pointing fingers and like. Meanwhile, the Force is usually open palmed. Like, I think there are some users of the Force. I don't know. I'm a little bit rusty on my Star Wars because there hasn't. Well, I'll admit, I have not been like tapped into the recent production of Star Wars content. Like, I know there is a lot more recent Star Wars stuff. I don't know, I just haven't been like as locked in as I used to be. I kind of zoned out for a while in Star Wars, so I don't remember if there's anyone who like uses like the finger or anything like that, but I think there is someone who I'm forgetting, so feel free to remind me in the comments. But with that being the case, Gojo immediately starts moving and grooving with that finger, and he like genuinely starts throwing Sukuna around. Notably, once again, I need to point out, this is doing no damage. Just no damage at all. Like, Gojo slams Sukuna into his shrine, drags it, like, points him there, throws him in there, has the palm out, drags him back, and it's still not really doing anything. Like, Gojo, despite looking mad devious right here, he's not really, it's weird to say he's not really succeeding. Like, he's not pulling anything off too crazy. But with that being the case, Sukuna is being thrown around and manhandled. And that is kind of, I really need to find that hat. But essentially, and I'm going to make a video on this too. There's so many videos of JJK that I need to make, but there's still so many videos of other series I need to make. But JJK has just been hot on the mind, and my brain's been just, here, have a video idea. Here, have a video idea. Here, have a video idea. But one of the biggest, heftiest, weirdest things that's felt just a little bit off about this battle is that it feels like Sukuna isn't, like, is it weird to say he isn't living up to the hype? Like, I don't know. When especially, here's the thing. Early series Sukuna, like 3-finger, cool. Pretty cool. I like that. Against the Finger Bear, that was pretty neat. That was really, really neat. In fact, I like that. But like, Shibuya Sukuna set the standard so high. Like he was in the narrative for what, like 5 chapters, if that? Because he fought Jogo, he fought Mahoraga, and then he left. Like, then he disappeared for, well, not too long. He, like, at least in terms of being an active character in the narrative and not just like a reaction panel or like a mention of him. Since Shibuya, I don't think he literally reappeared until like the 200s. Like 210 or something like that. Like, bro disappeared from the narrative for a long while. And I remember the Mahoraga fight is in like chapter 119, 120. So bro disappeared for like years. So like, I just had like Sukuna Shibuya building up in my head. And I don't know, like seeing Sukuna at the closest thing to his full power that will probably muster, unless Gojo really does reach into his back pocket that he doesn't have and pull out the last finger. This is the closest thing to full power Sukuna we're gonna see. And I don't know, seeing him get ragdoll like this, no contact, just force, like it's kind of crazy to me. It's kind of crazy. I'm not like a full-on Sukuna anti. Like, trust me, despite me being a Gojo glazer and having faith that Gojo will in fact win, I'm not a Sukuna hater. Like, I'm not. I think bro's cool, but he's kind of underwhelming me. I don't know. Something about this just doesn't feel right. Like, do any of you guys feel that way? Like, even the Sukuna fan, especially the Sukuna fans, in fact, does this feel like the guy living up to the hype? Or do you expect a little bit more? I'm expecting a little bit more. Maybe because I know he has a whole lot more. Like, I know he sells the flame arrows. He has the rest of the 10 shadows. He probably has more techniques. If you go with like the common theory that the black box techniques or like shrine itself is like a storage for multiple techniques, which I also subscribe to, then you're probably also feeling this way. I just want to know. Tell me how you guys feel about Sukuna and how he's being represented in this battle. Because bro's low-key underwhelming me. However, with that being the case, Gojo pulls him in and just smack, like takes his whole, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Takes all 5 fingers and just buries them straight down. Though admittedly, it doesn't look like he was aiming for the chest wound, which I would have. I would have just kept going. Like, me personally, I don't know. Maybe because I'm just lazy. I would have gone straight for the sternum. But it seems like Gojo actually went for the diaphragm. Like, very specifically. Because you can tell how Sukuna blocks it. Like, notably, if Gojo was going for the sternum, you block like this. Because that's, like, your sternum is centerpiece right here. So you would want to block like this using both arms. Essentially making no Wakanda Forever symbol. But Sukuna actually is forced to block like this. Because Gojo's aiming super duper low, and if you block like this, there's just like a mat, like your diaphragm's wide open. So Gojo going for there is an interesting strat. And we see Sukuna does seem, and that's another thing, right? Not only does it feel weird that Sukuna doesn't seem to be living up to like the hype of his previous incarnations, but also, like, I just can't tell if he's actually serious or not. I can't tell if he's like actively engaged in the battle. Is he locked in? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, I'd say Gojo's pretty locked in. Actually, no. Now I think about neither of these characters, and that does add to the flair of the fight, don't get me wrong. This is not like a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing either. Like, it's not a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. It's more of a thing I'm a bit neutral on. Neither of these characters seem 100% locked in. Like, I literally made a whole video, not 2 or 3 days ago, talking about how, like, you know, Gojo could have just won the fight if he was really locked in. Like, instead of toying around and talking about Sukuna and why he's not the challenger, he could have just opened domain when Sukuna had no hands and just immediately won. So, like, I don't know. There are many times, like I mentioned in that video, there are many times in this battle where Sukuna's just, Gojo is just, go ahead, you can heal. Yeah, I'm just going to stand here. Oh, I have a lead? I'm not going to capitalize on that. He's been doing that. Even with Sukuna. Sukuna, standing around, chilling, cheesing. Oh yeah, I have a lead. I'm not going to do anything about that. Like, why did Sukuna just stand around when Gojo was being hit by Malevolent Shrine? Why not just get more active? Throw more cleat. Just punch him in the mouth. Do something. Don't just stand there. Like, especially considering the shrine is the center of the domain. Just get super active on him. Make him work for it. And he did it a little bit, but, like, go crazier, dog. Like, have fun. Like, with faces like this, it makes me want to believe that they're taking the battle seriously. But, like, look at this grin. Look at the smile on this man's face. Like, maybe he's just having a good time while being locked in. I don't know. Maybe he's like in a... Is it more apt to say Sukuna is like Akaza? Or Akaza is like Sukuna? Who predates who? I don't actually know. How long was Demon? I think Demon Slayer does come out first. So I'm not sure who shows up in the narrative. I actually have no idea who shows up first. Akaza or Sukuna. Generally don't remember. Probably Akaza, I think. Because Demon Slayer ended like 3 years ago now. I didn't realize that. Demon Slayer's been over for a while now. Like, season 3 of the anime came out, and I saw some promotional thing, like, advertising 3-year anniversary of the end of the manga. Like, 3-year anniversary. So, like, it has been a hot minute since Demon Slayer ended, and that's only, like, 200 chapters. And now we're just now hitting the 230s, or we're in the 220s right now. So maybe Akaza does predate Sukuna. So Sukuna may just be like Akaza, and he's locked in, but he's still having a good time. And... I'm sorry. This man is just he's so far gone, bro. There's nothing in those eyes. Like, I would love to say there's something back there. There's nothing. There's nothing behind those demonic eyes. Bro is gone. He is gone. Look at this man. Does this look like a man you would trust with your kids? Like being completely real with you. I know Gojo fans are gonna, regardless. But, like, does this look like a man who you trust? Who you'd have faith in? I don't know. He seems scary. But we do get to see. Not ironically enough, we don't see, again, Gege's playing with us. We see Malevolent Shrine and Infinite Void collapse, both at the same time. You see the barrier of Infinite Void collapse, but you also see Malevolent Shrine itself, like, it does just immediately drop. And the two immediately return to neutral. But we don't see the thing that did the darn thing. Like, we don't see the damage. Like, we don't know what Gojo hit him with. Because it's clearly not this. Like, I don't think this punch that was very clearly caught and blocked by Sukuna, though admittedly, maybe because it's like way higher now. Like, it's down here in this panel, but then it goes like way up close to his chin in this panel. So maybe Gojo just dragged his knuckles up and like tore a whole chunk of Sukuna's face off, but I don't think so. Like, how did this happen? Like, it's literally steaming. Like, what did Gojo hit him with? What is he smacking Sukuna in the face with that it was not only, one, able to damage Sukuna, but two, enough to actually collapse one level in Shrine? Bug, be gone. I'm sorry. But I don't know. We don't get to see it. The same thing happened last chapter. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. My throat got clogged. But we literally I had the same issue last chapter where we had a little bit of fight and then we cut past the most important part, the thing that Gojo does to damage Sukuna enough to collapse one level in Shrine. Like, that's the whole key to the battle being the way it is, but we just don't get to see it. We get to see something of it later in this chapter, which is nice, but like, you mean to tell me Gojo really just punched a hole into... I mean, once again, that kind of just plays into Sukuna being a little bit underwhelming. Like, no lie. Like, I would just like to know what it was. Was it really just a punch? Was it really that punch being dragged up Sukuna's face until, like, Gojo's fist scraped it off? Was it a red? Was it a blue? Was it a mini perp? Like, what was it that allowed Gojo to do this? Because this was, seemingly enough, major damage, and despite the massive cheese, it was enough damage to actually make Sukuna drop domain. How? Show me. Don't play with me, Gege. Give me what I need. But with that being the case, we do get to see, like, Kusakami is pretty annoyed that, you've got to be kidding me. At the same time again, I can say simultaneous. Don't clown on me. I remember I did that once. I simplified, like, a big word into smaller words that meant the same thing, and my friend looked at me and said, well, what? You can't say that word? No, I can say simultaneous. I can even say it. I can say it 3 times fast. Simultaneous, simultaneous, simultaneous. Can you say simultaneous 3 times fast? Say it 5 times fast. I'll wait. I'm not sure I can say it 5 times fast. Hold on. Simultaneous, 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 simultaneous. I lost it on the 5th one. But if you can do it, congrats to you. But I can say simultaneous. I just want to break it down because I talk fast and my language is broken usually. But with that being the case, we see that Mei Mei, in all of her non-hair detailed glory, is like, Bug, I swear, I will tear you limb from limb. But that being the case, Mei Mei's like, keeping us on the edge of our seats. This whole battle is keeping everyone on the edge of their seats. In the fandom, outside the fandom. Like, notably, this chapter in particular, the Sukuna fraud stuff has spread so far that I've seen people in other communities. Like, that is crazy. That is crazy to me. But we do get to see that Choso's like, dog, what is even life, bro? What is even happening anymore? And I don't blame him, bro. I would be totally lost too. Like, this is not a regular scenario. These are not 2 regular beings fighting. These are nutcases. And we do get to see that Miwa points out a pretty important fact. She says, oh, so when it comes to fighting in domains, no, without a doubt, Gojo-san is stronger. Interesting that she called him Gojo-san. Not Gojo Sensei. Well, I guess he's not her sensei. But, like, Gojo-san. Who else calls him that? I don't know. It feels so weird. But with that being the case, Itadori thinks he can win. And that is true. And that is kind of crazy once again. I know, Sukuna fans. Well, it's not technically full power Sukuna. It's just an equivalency that's missing some of his soul. And that's true. Don't get me wrong. And technically, full power Sukuna is 20 fingers plus the might, which is extra curse energy. So, like, I do get it. But, like, dog. Really? 20 finger, or 19 finger plus body Sukuna is weaker than Gojo in Domain? That feels weird. And that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe I really am. Because, like, multiple people are, like, I think both on YouTube and on my other major upload platform, TikTok, they've been like, are you sure you want a Sukuna fan? Maybe I am. Or maybe we just have too high expectations for Sukuna. Because, like, the fact that Gojo's definitively washing this man back to back to back. Like, look at this. Look who comes out the battle with more damage. It's Sukuna. I don't know. I'm just kind of underwhelmed by bro. And, like, notably, he still is big cheesing. He's like, bro's had the gorgeous pearly whites on display. Right? Bro's looking just like that. But, dog, really? Like that's kind of embarrassing, bro. Like, me personally, I don't know. If I'm the king of curses, I'm not gonna let myself get worked in my own domain like that. Even if it's like, I get it, it's a proper domain battle. So essentially, they're at equal. But this implies that just generally Sukuna is at a disadvantage against Gojo. And I get Gojo's the strongest, but like, darn, bruh. Be a little more relative then. Like do something a little bit more than that, dog. You really just relying on extra experience, bro, and another person's body? That's crazy. That's a little fraudulent. Nah, I'm kidding. Sukuna fans don't cover my neck. I don't think he's fraudulent. Maybe. There's a statement I need to go back to and talk about. I'm going to make a Sukuna fraud video. Give me some time. But with it being the case, Gojo hits Sukuna with the heavenly left and swings away. And then this man, speaking of weird domain expansions, first he went like this and then threw it down to the right as he went like this. Interesting way to activate domain. Another interesting way to activate domain. Those fingers are not overlap. They're not doing this. That's not the unlimited. The unlimited void hand sign was there earlier. It was just pointed down to the right for some reason. This is not unlimited void. This is limited void. What is this? This is not it. You gotta take that extra cross. Though admittedly, as a person who cannot draw hands, oh, shock horror. I got the pencil. Can't draw hands. I can't draw. But with that being the case, Gege. What is this? What is this? Come on now, bro. Though it does work. It does work. So I can't knock its hustle. Though, once again, Gege with really dynamic shots in this chapter. Very specifically with Gojo. Like, this is also a really nice, interesting shot with the arm in the foreground, him in the background. I really like this. I really like the way Gege is drawing Gojo this chapter. Even if sometimes he's he's a little bit off the sauce. But with that being the case, we do get to see. To immediately go to domain expansion. But, notice, Sukuna actually didn't fully heal. Like, take a look. He still has some damage on him after having his face blown off. So both went for domain expansion. And they said it at the same time. But look at the two prodigies. Look at him. Look at this boy. Look at this boy sweating. He's like, bro. Like Higuruma, right? Like, here's the thing, right? What is more embarrassing? I mean, is it embarrassing? Like, Yuta has been in the Jujutsu world for a minute now, right? I mean, bro, it's a special grade, right? So he's been in the Jujutsu world. So I guess maybe because he has more context behind the battle, maybe it makes sense that he's sweating. But, like, the fact that Higuruma, who all of 3 weeks ago was just, well, no, it's been a month. So, like, all of 2 months ago was just a regular dude. The fact that he's more, like, well-kempt than Yuta Kotsu, a special grade sorcerer, when Higuruma's, like, grade 1 at best. Like, that's crazy. Though it's very interesting that Yuta and Higuruma notice it, but Hikari doesn't. Is bro, like, zoned out or something? Like, did he just get tired of watching? Because a lot of people, one thing people have been complaining about, and I'm going to make has the strongest battle been underwhelming videos. I'm sorry, I keep promising so many videos, and I'm going to make them, but it's just like, they're just popping in my head. I want to talk about it more in depth. But a lot of people have been talking about how this domain on 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 domain on, I'm not even saying domain anymore. How this battle has been kind of repetitive. Like, we're just kind of getting domain, and then they punch, and then we get domain, and then they punch, and then we get domain, and then they punch, and like it does seem a little bit repetitive. But at the same time, whew, my computer keeps scaring me. But who knows? Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help editing me. Never know. But even with that being the case, I do kind of understand where people are coming from with that. I do still like it. I still do like this battle because this is something only these two can do. It's something only these two can do. And it makes sense. Like, notably, Sukuna not using any other technique makes sense because he simply cannot get past Infinity. The neutral limitless is just something he cannot get past without domain amplification. But if he's using domain amplification, he can't use his technique. So, like, what do you want Sukuna to do? And same thing for Gojo. Gojo has like 5 abilities. Unlimited Void, red, purple, blue, neutral limitless. And like an unknown maximum, which I'll talk about in its own video. That's it. Bro doesn't have many. He does not have that big of a roster of moves. So, like, while Sukuna not using his girth of abilities, his whole library of abilities makes sense because they don't work. Gojo also just cycling through his limited abilities also makes sense because they're just really, really strong. That's kind of all he has. So, like, I get why people are underwhelmed. I'm a little underwhelmed too, but I can't necessarily blame Gege. It would actually be weird if Sukuna, like, tried to pull out the fire arrows or try to pull out other Shikigami. Because, like, admittedly, anything outside of Mahoraga would probably just get one-tapped. Even that gigantic Nue, hollow purple to the face, and not a red to the jaw. Matt's elephant, it would bounce off of the infinity, the neutral limitless. The Madoka deer, I think the only reason that works so well against Shirozu's cursed metal is because it neutralized the cursed energy in the metal itself. When it comes to something like the infinity, I don't think the Madoka deer would be effective, because once the cursed energy that Gojo releases has brought the infinity straight into reality, then the infinity will still exist, just like the liquid metal still existed when the Madoka deer appeared. It's just the infinity's not going to go away. It's still going to be there. So that's kind of just a passive thing that the Madoka deer can't get past. Piercing bull, sure, it could charge forever, but unless Gojo for some reason lets down the infinity, it's not going to pierce through. So like nothing, not even the divine dog, say it is the size of like Fenris Wolf, like it's not going to do anything. So it's kind of just unfortunate the way the battle's set up with how broken both of these characters are. They're like basic neutrality and resorting to the Pikachu Jutsu. It only makes sense because neither of them really have any other options. Though we do get to see that these two, the two prodigies, the one of a year and the one of 2 months, notice that maybe, just maybe, he's even drawn with a sweat drop on this tiny pen. Like you can barely see his face and he's still drawn with a sweat drop. But I'm sorry, I'm clown on Yuta. But we see that Yuta notices, oh, thank the Lord, I don't have to fight. Thank you. Maybe, just maybe, Gojo Sensei expanded his domain an instant earlier. Just barely he managed to get the lead on Sukuna. Why? Because Sukuna had to heal. So, I'm not gonna, like, if you watch the, I saw y'all in the comment section. I even saw y'all in the poll. I don't remember what the poll's results said exactly, but a lot of y'all believe Sukuna could escape in that scenario right at the start of the fight when he had burned a hand. If this isn't proof that that's just not true, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Sukuna would have lost the fight. I think, like, whole genuine lost the fight. Because I think the reason the end scenario of this chapter happens is because of the numerous limited voids that have been dropped on his head so far. So I do 100% believe that if Gojo had opened Unlimited Void instead of chatting at the start of the fight when he had blown Sukuna's hand off, he would have won. Because look at what happens. Just an instant of an instant. We see, what does Gojo mention? You were busy healing your body. You were late restoring your curse technique. It was less than 0.01 seconds. Yo, that is in 100th of a second. Less than in 100th of a second. It was realistically, it was 0.009 seconds that had passed. But instantly, Sukuna was like, oh, shoot, yo, what is this? Yo, why don't I see? Oh, Lord, I can taste the colors. I'm hearing the smells. And I smell the rain. Whoa. Like, bro is, you can tell bro's a little bit, he's on the trail. Like, yo, what's going on here, dog? And we see Unlimited Void landed. Though, admittedly, it is very impressive that Sukuna, just through sheer reflex, presumably, probably after opening his domain so many times in his life, he still did somehow manage to get Malevolent Shrine off. He managed to spawn it in just in time before Unlimited Void could truly take effect. But since Gojo, he had that couple seconds, he lunged in and just boom, straight to the sternum. Like, presumably, I don't know, it's hard to tell. It looks like the sternum. And are you sure? Someone's commented that the heart is in the center. No, it's not. Like, where's my Googler? I don't know where my Googler is. But I can, like, you can't, like, I can't feel my heartbeat. Like, if I put my hand here, right above my sternum, I can't feel my heartbeat. It's not there. But if I go down here, beneath my left pectoral, I have a really, well, I'm not really low. I'm not an athlete. But, like, my resting heart rate's like 60, so I still can't really feel it, and I'm pretty chunky, so like I can't feel it. But can I feel it? I legit can't tell. I know it's there. I know the heart is there. I feel it. Whenever I have those, like, I don't know if y'all have ever had it before, but you ever had those moments where it feels like your heart is like exploding, like those? I forget what it's called. It's some sort of like, it's like something about your lungs or something. Like something pierces in your heart, and you feel that feeling there. That's always comes from here. It never comes from the center of your chest. So what Gojo says later on in this chapter is kind of confusing, unless his fist is aimed more leftward than I thought. But yeah, Gojo wastes no time to take this opportunity to bury his fist dead in Sukuna's chest. And we see that the upper eyes didn't realize it, but it looks like the lower eyes are watching like, we're done. And for 2 minutes and 40 seconds after they expanded their domains, within Gojo Satoru's domain, Malevolent Shrine collapsed. So I guess the thing that's weird about that statement, and I do want to see what the official translations say, is that, what do you mean it took 2 minutes and 40 seconds? Was Gojo standing there looking at him for 2 minutes and 40 seconds? Is it Gojo's perspective of 2 minutes and 40 seconds? Because, like, it looks like Gojo took this advantage immediately. It doesn't look like they actually had any sort of a fight. But once again, we just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe there was 2 minutes and 40 seconds of fight. We just didn't notice it. However, Gojo did end up beating Sukuna inside domain due to the delayed activation of Sukuna's domain, and thusly Malevolent Shrine collapsed. But since Malevolent Shrine collapsed, that doesn't mean Unlimited Void did. In fact, the bulky barrier is now fully fine and probably healing itself, and thusly Sukuna is smacked with Unlimited Void. And he's paralyzed. So it appears that while Gojo can face tank Malevolent Shrine, the Divine Domain, this non-Divine Domain cannot be face tanked by the King of Curses. Though we do get to see that Gojo immediately lunges in. This is a weird part of the chapter to me too. Like, there are 2 weird things about the very end of this chapter, which I don't think are going to get explained. 1, because one's really minor, and 2, because I don't think A is going to explain it. First thing, unless, I mean, maybe it's supposed to be implied here that Sukuna went flying back from where Gojo hit him, but like, Gojo's fist is buried in Sukuna's chest right here, right? Like, he's there. There's no like drag lines, there's no motion lines here on Sukuna when he's knocked back towards his shrine, and his shrine collapses, and he gets hit by Unlimited Void and immediately gets stun locked. So why does Gojo have to lunge in again? Like, did he just punch Sukuna back? Probably, but I don't know. If that's the case, it wasn't portrayed that well. And number 2. So, Sukuna's ability, his shrine, is destroyed. And since he's in the barrier of Unlimited Void, he's instantly hit by Unlimited Void. So, his curse technique is down. Right? That's how that works. Right? Unless he can subconsciously, unless he's on some Gojo type beat where his curse technique is constantly being refreshed by RCT, what happens next shouldn't be able to happen. Because we see, Gojo says, "I'm not done yet. Crushing your heart was the bare minimum. I want your lungs, your liver. I'll bring you closer to the end than usually was at the detention center." Yeah, Gojo, once again, I told you that man was off one. He is moving deviously. And with that being the case, you see him lunge in. But unfortunately, the wheel clicks in the 8-handled sword, Divergent Sila Divine General Mahoraga spawns in. Now, based on how we've seen it before, I know common sense won't prevail in the battle of the strongest. So thusly, I shouldn't. I know people, my friends have already like critiqued me about this. They're like, Pencil, you gotta stop asking questions. But I don't like that. I think that's bad writing. I need an explanation for why Sukuna, who should have had no time to restore his technique after his domain was destroyed, because he was immediately struck by Unlimited Void, I need to know how Mahoraga was able to spawn, or how the wheel was able to keep existing anyway in the shadows. Because we've seen it happen before, regardless, with another person who has multiple techniques, post-domain, on 2 separate occasions too. Yuta and Kenjaku, 2 characters with different domains, and even one of them who has an external storage, like Yuta. Rika Orimoto, the husk that was left behind, is an external storage. And even Yuta, post using a domain that is likely based purely off mimicry and not off any of the extra techniques he had, all of his techniques were gone. He couldn't use Curse Speech, he couldn't use Sky Manipulation, he couldn't use Drew Shikigami technique. For Kenjaku, after his domain, he couldn't use Curse Spirit Manipulation, and he couldn't use the Anti-Gravity Engine technique. So why can Sukuna somehow subconsciously, with no words, I checked, unless something's going to be added to the official chapter, he doesn't even say anything. He doesn't move. He doesn't make any hand signs, nothing. How does Mahoraga come out? Because in the fight with Yorozu, it makes sense how Mahoraga comes out. Because Sukuna literally takes the wheel that was floating above his head and drops it into the shadow and says, "With this treasure I summon." He did the incantation. Even if he didn't perform a fancy hand sign, the wheel was already above his head and the incantation was performed. But here in this chapter, Mahoraga just comes in. Like he was like waiting. Like he subconsciously Sukuna in his Sukuna in his last moments was like, tag me in, Daddy Mahoraga. And then Mahoraga was like, don't worry, son, I'm coming to save you. And sorry for bringing you to take your kid to work day. I knew I shouldn't have thrown you up against the strongest sorcerer. Don't worry, it's going to be me, the strongest Shikigami, that's going to take care of him. So, like, that feels a little bit weird. I definitely, and especially considering this is not the first domain of Sukuna that was broken, I don't know how Mahoraga did this. I'm hoping it gets explained next chapter. This could easily be written off as, like, a prerequisite binding vow. But I think, again, how does that binding vow work? Like, notably, we've never seen a user of the 10 Shadows, like, preload a Shikigami summon. Am I wrong? Like, am I just forgetting? Is this something that's happened before? Like, I don't think we've ever seen a 10 Shadows user preload. Like, essentially, the binding vow would have to go something like this. It'd have to kind of be like a code. Whenever you're coding a computer and, like, there's, not even just coding a computer, but coding a website. If user does X, X will occur. So, like, did Sukuna make a binding vow with Mahoraga in his own technique where if Ryomen Sukuna is mentally incapacitated and unable to perform any hand seals or anything like that, he is just, or hit by a limited void, let's just say that. If Ryomen Sukuna is hit by a limited void, Mahoraga will auto-spawn. Is that it? That can be done? I guess, because that's the only way that make sense. But even still, I still think that's weird because it breaks the rules of not being able to use one's techniques, whether or not they are the inherent techniques or not, after a domain. So I do think, while it is cool, right, I love seeing Mahoraga. Mahoraga, once again, I mentioned this in the spoilers, but I'll mention it here again. Peep the spoiler discussion if you haven't already. I know some people usually watch that anyway, even if they don't want spoilers, but if you want more genuine thoughts, because there are other thoughts in there that I'm not going to repeat here. This is one I will repeat. Mahoraga has one of, if not like number 2 or number 1, depending on the day, designs for cursed spirits / Shikigami / whatever in the series. The only character design that comes close is original forearm Sukuna. So I love seeing Mahoraga. I'm excited to see Gojo versus Mahoraga, but still a little bit strange. And something someone pointed out, where's Sukuna? Is he just not drawn it? Like, where did this man come from? Like, did they actually swap places in the shadow? Like, is Sukuna just chilling in the shadow now and Mahoraga's out? We know that is something that can be done. We know that the 10 Shadows users can retreat into their own shadow. That is something that we know is true. But how did he do that, once again, if he's completely mentally incapacitated? Binding vow stuff? I don't know. However, Daddy Mahoraga's here, and he is cheesing and memeing. And speaking of cheesing and memeing, we do get to see that Gojo's like, ugh. Oh, fine. All right. Right now, you couldn't have done it in 5 minutes. It hasn't had time to adapt to Unlimited Void yet. I'll destroy it in one shot. And he goes for a Cursed Technique Reversal. So he's going for red here. Someone brought up the fact that, well, technically red would be a good idea here because it's a Shikigami, it's made of Cursed Energy, and thusly, obviously, a reverse Cursed Energy technique would be useful against it. I kind of disagree, though. Number one, because we know Mahoraga already wields. Like, I'm not sure how much info Gojo has on Mahoraga, but, like, his 6th eye should have told him that the sword Mahoraga's wielding and is directly touching is composed of RCT, or positive energy. So he should know positive energy, if it's not going to be an auto one-shot. He should have just gone for purple here, not only because positive energy isn't going to be a one-shot because it already has a sword with positive energy, but also because red is kind of small. Like, I don't know, we've never seen red, like, to the same scale as purple. Because the thing with Mahoraga is to one-shot it, you need to one-shot its whole body. Presumably enough, red would only pierce a hole through it or take an arm off. It'll just regen that. So I think the better opening here would have been an instantaneous purple. But he does not go for that. He tries to go for red. Though, admittedly, Mahoraga wastes no time. And actually, this is really good speed scaling for it. Like, I know this is weird to say, but this is really good speed scaling for Mahoraga. It manages to stab the ground before Gojo can do anything. And destroy Unlimited Void, by the way. But, like, it stabs, it actually completes the motion before Gojo could fire off a red at all. That's better speed scaling than it had before. So even more reason for why it's going to slam Yuta. But regardless, realistically why it slams the verse. Like, legitimately, with this kind of kit, This Mahoraga alone, off this 1 feat alone, and this one little bit of speed scaling on top of his other abilities and his adaptation, it's number 3 in the verse. Like, I was hesitant. I was gonna put Kenny above it, but I don't think Kenny has anything that can one-shot this thing. Even Uzumaki. I don't think so. So, Mahoraga, number 3 in the verse. And we do get to see that Gojo realizes it has already adapted to Unlimited Void. The wry grin that shatters the balanced. To Unlimited Void. So Mahoraga is out. Like I said, he is cheesing and memeing, happy to be here. He just like me, for real, for real. And there are a couple things. One, I already did the whole rant on why this shouldn't even be possible. But there are a couple things. I do think this may be time for Jujutsu... I couldn't say it. For Jujutsu Kaisen to get activated. Who? That's a good question. If Sukuna is still out, if he's still alive and not just hiding in the shadow of Mahoraga now, which would be so hilarious. That's going to make the Sukuna fraud stuff even worse. But if he is still out, it is entirely possible that he wakes up and he starts jumping Gojo alongside Mahoraga. I do think Chapter 230 is going to legit just be Gojo versus Mahoraga. I don't actually see us, like, how do you put it, getting this over with in like 10 pages. No, I do think the next chapter is entirely going to be Gojo versus Mahoraga. And I'm excited for that. Do I think Mahoraga has an immediate win con? No, because like at this point, while Gojo's caught a little bit off guard, he should be able to restore his curse technique in time. And I'm not sure if Mahoraga is going to be able to adapt to Infinity, because notably Mahoraga's adaptation works on an attack basis. So if Infinity was offensive, if Gojo tried to use the neutral limitless offensively like he did against Hanami, then that'd be one thing, but he hasn't done that yet. So I don't think Mahoraga has an easy way to get through Infinity. So I think Mahoraga's kind of stuck out of luck. Unless we see the positive energy stuff does work on Infinity like it works in the liquid metal, even though Infinity is a concept brought from unreality. So I'm interested to see how that works out. I'm interested to see how the other characters are going to react to this, because this is their first time seeing Mahoraga, right? Because who would have seen it? Yeah, none of them. This is their first time seeing Mahoraga. Some of them have seen Nue. Some of them have seen Max Elephant. Some of them have seen all that other stuff. But this is the first time any of them have directly witnessed Mahoraga. So I'm interested to see their reactions to that. I'm interested to see how Gojo deals with it. I do think it's... Bring. Hello, previous Limitless users. Oh, yeah, what's up? Yeah, I'm gonna need that maximum real quick. Maximum delete button. Like, I think that's what we're gonna have to resort to. I think Gojo is gonna spend the next chapter trying out everything. He's gonna try red. He's gonna try blue. He's gonna try purple. And I think Mahoraga is gonna eat all of them, and then Gojo's gonna be like, ugh, I wanted to save this, but boom. He's gonna do like some hand sign or some seal or something like that, and then the chapter's gonna end, and it's gonna be like the maximum of Gojo Satoru. It's gonna like end on like a speech bubble that's like maximum ... So that'll be it. I don't see Mahoraga taking out Gojo. I do see Sukuna getting back into the battle and like waking up or whatever by the end of the next chapter, or at least the start of 231, because I think we got to see Gojo getting jumped at least a little bit, and then I have ideas for who could come in and help Gojo out of the sitting around Jujutsu High crew. But overall, super duper W chapter. Like, massive W chapter. I really like this one. One, because we get to see more of Gojo versus Sukuna. That's really neat. But it finally does feel like the battle's leveling up a bit. Like, we're reaching to a point where these two are going a little bit crazy. Like, just a teeny tiny bit. Now that they've realized what the neutrality of their battle is at, that their fancy domains do really just equalize each other, and that they need to fight fancy within the domains, I like seeing Gojo tweak. I like seeing him pop off like this. That's really good. I love seeing Sukuna cheesing and grinning, having his face blown apart. That's really neat. I love the fact that these two are just ready for each other now. And that, finally, we're getting to see Sukuna use those other techniques. Sure, does it make him a little bit fraudulent that he needs to rely on Daddy Mahoraga? Yes. But if you had access to Daddy Mahoraga, you'd be relying on Daddy Mahoraga too. Don't play. You'd have him too. So I'm excited to see Mahoraga pop up. That's my main thing. That's why I really like this chapter. I'm super duper excited to see Big Papa Mahoraga go wild against the Limitless user. One that he may or may not have slain in the past. So I'm super duper excited. However, that's what I think. Please, what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so I can English, I swear. Make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month to get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.